Hey, it's Mario here, and in this video you're gonna learn how to stop a bad habit. And this is one of the most frequently asked questions that I get, aside from the question of how long does it take to create a good habit. This is one of the frequent ones, is how do we break a habit? How do you cut a certain behavior from your life that you know is bad for you? And I had my fair share of experience with bad habits, such as drinking, addiction to gaming, addiction to social media, constantly being distracted, or like borderline ADD because of so many things that I want to multitask at once. And breaking these habits, or even better word for that is replacing these habits with positive ones, was actually a really good skill set that took a very long time to develop. So how did I approach this? Well, the number one thing you want to realize that there's different types of habits. The one type of negative habit that you want to get rid of out of your life, the one that is really hard to get rid of, is that the one that actually has some kind of benefit. So all the habits in your life, they had a benefit at some point. They had some kind of reward at some point. So let me give you an example. So let's compare smoking to biting your nails, right? Someone who is a smoker right now, maybe when they wake up in the morning, they sit in their car, they get a trigger and a cue, that is kind of their trigger driving to work, to smoke. And they smoke and they light up that cigarette and it makes them feel a little bit warmer, maybe they wake up a little bit faster. They're actually getting positive benefits from it because their brains, I mean, of course we consciously know that smoking is bad, but they're still getting a positive reward from it. That's something really, really important to realize, that even that negative behavior, it has some kind of positive reward from it. You binging in the middle of the night still has a positive reward. Like, you're still feeling better, right? So you get that positive emotion. That's why you're doing it in the first place. But compare that to, let's say, someone who fell into a habit of biting their nails in high school and they just kept doing it over the years. Maybe now they're not stressful, maybe they're not anxious, maybe they're really high self-esteem and confident, but they're still biting their nails just because that habit is there. They're doing it for the sake of the habit itself, right? So it's important to make a distinction which bad habits you want to break. And for the part of this video, I think majority of us want to focus on the first part, which is actually the habits that most of us are doing because it's giving us some kind of benefit. Those are really hard to break. So how would you approach breaking or actually replacing that kind of habit? Well, the point here is that you can't necessarily break a habit, as your brain will always be craving that reward. So it's a much better strategy to replace the habit with something else. But the problem here is that the habit actually has multiple different types of benefits that you're getting from one single thing. Let's say smoking is an example. We mentioned that scenario in the morning when the person was just getting warmed up a little bit, getting woken up a little bit. Maybe you told them, hey, just have a Coke Zero or have like a no sugar Red Bull in that morning, right? So that kind of kills the trigger reward in that situation. They manage to smoke one cigarette less. But let's say they get to work and they see a coworker smoking outside, and now smoking has a different reward. Now the reward is getting that, I guess, that social interaction, and now, okay, I'm gonna get a smoke with a coworker. And now in this situation, we're dealing a whole different reward, and we need to find a whole different replacement for this type of environment, right? So this is why breaking or replacing quote unquote bad habits is very, very complicated, is because they have multiple different types of benefits. So what you need to do essentially is make a list of all the possible scenarios and all the possible benefits you are getting from that negative behavior. Why are you playing video games so much? Is it because you're bored? Maybe you can find something else to replace and to kind of kill that boredom. Maybe you can try to do something else. When maybe you're gaming because you're stressed and you're running away from something. Maybe you want to find a way to do that as well, right? So it's analyzing a behavior and seeing really how many positive rewards am I getting from it. So smoking example is really difficult because there's so many positive benefits from it that it's really difficult to get rid of. It's same with alcohol. There's so many benefits. Makes you relaxed, makes you better in social interactions, quote unquote better. Things like you're becoming more socially accepted in your environment, maybe just lets you express yourself. There's so many different benefits. So for me to actually get rid of the alcohol problem, I couldn't just cut it out. I actually had to get good at all these things regardless of drinking alcohol or not. And that's kind of made the alcohol redundant because I could just simply do all those things without the booze. Same thing with smoking, same thing with, let's say, some people who are addicted to, just because they're stressed, they're addicted to eating food. If you find other means of reduction of stress, which could be exercise, meditation, or just doing something like reading, or just finding a way to actually reduce that stress, like yoga or stretching, without adding up the calories, you will effectively reduce that problem and just replace it with something else that's getting you the same benefits. So this is why breaking a bad habit is complicated, why replacing a bad habit is very, very complex. So the way you want to look at this is, as I said again, find a list of all the possible benefits from that behavior and start slowly replacing each one of those benefits. And then the final layer you want to have on top of that is an if-then type of loop, right? So if I do this, then I'm gonna do this. So if I don't smoke in the morning, then I'm gonna do this. If I do smoke in the morning, then I'm gonna do this. So you have a kind of a pre-planned scenario for every single way your brain can fall into, right? So because sometimes, even though you have the best intentions to break the habit or replace the habit, you might fail, right? And that's often the case with us when you try to do something new. And then in that situation, you want to have that if-then. So if I do end up smoking, then at least I'm going to compensate for not smoking in the night, or then I'm going to go to the gym, or then I'm going to eat a healthy meal or eat a healthy lunch. So you create a bunch of these if-then scenarios, which you can do simply 2 columns. You know, if this happens, then this happens, and you kind of have a whole map of different types of behaviors that you want to do that day. And this is extremely powerful because we need to design for laziness, right? Our brains are lazy. So if you have that predetermined list of behaviors that you want to execute, and if you have that little, I would say like a cheat sheet, what you're going to do throughout the day, that can really be helpful when you're approaching a whole life change, and that makes it a whole lot of a simpler idea because you have it on paper, you have a thing that you want to do, you have the thing that you should be doing, and makes the whole process a lot easier, and you want to be able to stick with it much easier and without much effort. And this is why having that if-then scenario plus thinking of how you can replace all those benefits is super effective when it comes to getting rid of negative behaviors from your life. Hope this video was helpful. This is my experience. I've applied a lot of these methods to my own life, getting rid of different types of addictions. And I know this is not the end-all be-all for getting rid of bad habits. Of course, nobody has the perfect system. So if you're really truly addicted to alcohol or smoking or something like that, there's institutions, there's professionals, there's specialists. It's simply my opinion, the method that worked for me, based on my personal research and reading a lot of books and doing a lot of kind of science digging and things like that. So I hope it was helpful. Let me know in the comments below how this resonated with you. If you find this type of video helpful, aside from that, make sure to hit that subscribe button below to support the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.